visa program, okay? So he was temporarily off the ride. But he had all the information. So we had direct access to information, number one, and that's very key. The next is that Diane Nash had just gotten out of jail in North Carolina. What was it? Where's Rock Hill? Is that South Carolina or North Carolina? South Carolina, with some high school students. Guess what else? When the Nashville group demonstrated downtown and desegregated the lunch counters downtown, we also desegregated the Greyhound bus station lunch counters. So we'd already taken care of the Greyhound bus station. We were no strangers to the station. We knew that it could be integrated, desegregated. Okay? So we took off. And by the way, before we went on Freedom Rides, that spring we had already desegregated the movie theaters, all 5 of them downtown. We were on a roll. So getting on the bus to continue to ride was just another roll. Now guess what? When we got to Montgomery, Alabama, first of all, we stayed overnight in Birmingham trying to get to Montgomery. Nobody wanted to drive the buses. So here we were, okay, there. And we couldn't even get off to Montgomery because the bus drivers refused to drive. I remember we would go up and try to get on the bus and everything. You know what they would say? The bus driver would say, "Are y'all from CO or the NAACP?" That's the National White People's Organization. Okay. No, we're not from that group. Well, I'm not giving my life to that group. Okay, so they took off. Wouldn't ride the bus. Stayed overnight. The first time I saw the Ku Klux Klan in their uniforms. And by the way, did you know the Imperial Wizard was a minister? Robert Shelton. Yeah, he didn't have a white robe, he had a black robe with a huge serpent on the back. He was a little man, you know, walking around, very much in charge, directing the Klan. They stomped our feet and threw water on us because we were there overnight and some of us were going to sleep. And I said they meant it for harm, but it was a good idea for us to stay awake with the Klan walking around. So we thanked them for keeping us awake. Yeah, they didn't mean that, but you know, that was good. We finally got to Montgomery, Alabama, and a mob came out of the bus station and went straight to the reporters. Beat up the reporters, smashed cameras and everything. We knew they were coming after us next. Now here's a clue to you. In Alabama, it wasn't about the buses. How could it be about the buses when the Montgomery city buses are already desegregated? Yeah. Street go to city. They were already, black folks were already riding the bus in Montgomery. So what they care about some bus coming through Montgomery with some folks on it? These are lessons now. Lessons mean dig deep. Interpret actions. Don't just report actions. Why were they concerned about, okay, in bringing out all this mob violence? We came all the way through South Carolina. Somebody got hit in North Carolina. But nobody had no mobs out there. The bus had already come from Washington, D.C. all the way down, even through Atlanta. You know what they did in Atlanta? They made all the black folks who were riding on the front of the bus temporary white folks. You know, for a day, you know. Let them go ahead and eat and everything and then bye. You know, white for a day. Why Alabama? Why Montgomery? A big old mob coming out there. It wasn't about the bus, it was the bus station. You get my point? That's why they were waiting and they didn't allow us to get in the bus station. They met us out there where the bus parked. Because they knew if we desegregated the lunch counters downtown bus station, the next step would be the Five and Dime, Woolworth, and all the rest of them downtown. You get my point? So you have to always analyze why people behave the way they do. Don't just get mad with them. And I know sometimes we don't understand. That's why we say, well, why do they act that way? Well, that should be a not fussing point. That should be a real question for research. Okay? So one of the lessons, another lesson, is that we must do our research. So I was in the Freedom Rides, and I stayed down in Mississippi, and this time, they didn't have one Freedom Rider from Jackson, Mississippi. And we're sitting in jail. Not one from Jackson. So when Jim Bevel and I got out of jail, we said we're going to stay in Mississippi, and we're going to start recruiting folks from Mississippi. Because if you're going to desegregate the facilities and people never used them there, and never was on the Freedom Rides, how do we know they're going to use the facilities? So we got to make sure. And that's what we did. We stayed there. In 2 weeks, we recruited 42 people from Jackson, Mississippi. And half of them were gang members. We would go over to the basketball court and snatch the ball. You know, we were strangers, you know. They say, you must not be from around here. Okay. And we say, y'all want to fight? They say, yeah, we want to fight. They didn't know what it was about, but if you want to fight, that's what gangs do, fight. Okay. And I said, okay, we're going downtown, we're going to fight segregation. We don't care. Fight. That's all right with us. Fight that. You may go to jail. Well, we've been to jail before. Well, we had to train them in nonviolence, that's the point. After we finish our intensive training, we say you have to show up 6 o'clock the next morning. Anybody came 5 minutes after 6 a.m., they had to wait until the next day. So we had to know that if they, okay, somebody show up 6 o'clock to go to jail, they had to be serious. And that was our test, final test, to see if they were serious about sticking with this. We couldn't get them in jail, then they go and start crying and saying, these northern agitators persuaded us. You know, we had to make sure they had the conviction. That's the next lesson. There's no substitute for training. The training of the leadership had all to do with the effectiveness of the movement. Yes, Martin Luther King, on his executive staff of SCLC, had more people who were trained in Nashville by Jim Lawson. Okay? So you're doing the right thing. That's why I'm here. I'm very excited about the training that you're going to do. And you can make just a world of difference. You see that. Okay. Next thing is, went back to school for a little while because my mother said, you're not going to ever finish school. I said, yes, I am, Mama. No, you're not. No. I said, yes, I am going to finish school. I'm going to register now. She said, yeah, you go register, but how long are you going to stay there? So you better be out here aggravating folk about segregation. I said, I'm going to finish school. And well, eventually I did. I had a master's and, you know, a doctorate from Harvard University, and handed it to her. You know what her response was? Thank you. And I remember back in psychology about negative inspiration. So how does she know about negative inspiration? Tell me I'm not going to do it, I'll do it. Yeah, you have to know your children. Yeah, and use what you know. All right? Okay. Fast forward. American Friends Service Committee wanted to start a program in Chicago, Urban Affairs. I was the first director of Urban Affairs for the American Friends Service Committee. We started in Chicago, experimenting with nonviolence in the urban, northern urban community. We did that. The next thing is that Martin Luther King wanted to respond to Rochester, the riots. And we came back 50 years ago. Andrew Young, myself, Jim Bevel. I'm not sure about Jose. I have to think about it some more. But there were 7 of us all together. Willie Bolden was one. And we came and we met with the gang members and the different gangs right here in Rochester, New York. Clarissa Street? Yeah. Crash Helicopter? Yes. The Undertakers? And that's the name of the gang. Because they would undertake anything. The Diplomats? Oh, I thought of another name. You know, I was trying to struggle about it. Ambassadors. Yes, it's coming back. A little bit slow, but it's coming back. Now think about gangs named diplomats and ambassadors, and do you understand the mentality of these young gang members? They were talking about aspiration, not exasperation. You name a gang the diplomats, and they wore high-top hats and split-tail coats. What were they talking about? That's what their aspiration was. Nobody picked up on it, though. That's the problem. They're telling us what they want, but nobody's listening. Okay? Yeah. Okay. Final one.